About 2,500 years ago, in the city of Croton in southern Italy, a young boy made a decision that would make him the greatest athlete in all of Greece. Okay, yeah, I know I just said it was southern Italy, not Greece. It's a story. Just go with it, okay? His name was Milo, and his plan was so simple, it was almost stupid. Every day, he would go out into a field where there was a young baby calf, and he would pick up that calf and put it on his shoulders and set it down. That's it. That was the whole plan. He didn't have a gym membership. He didn't have a coach. He wasn't taking pre-workout or creatine supplements. What he had was discipline, a plan, and consistency. And it worked. Day after day, week after week, month after month, the calf grew, and so did Milo. As the calf's weight increased, Milo's strength increased because he was forcing his body to adapt. Milo didn't discover a hack. He discovered a basic biological law, and it's the foundation of every single strength training program that ever existed, all the ones that work anyway. And it's the principle of progressive overload. And if you're not using it, I don't care how hard you're training, you're leaving gains on the table. I've worked with a lot of people in person, and I've been on a lot of fitness forums, and I've watched a lot of YouTube fitness content as well. Now, as a personal trainer and as a coach, here's what I see every single time. When you ask them, what does your training program look like? They say, I'm working really, really hard. I'm doing 3 sets of 10 push-ups, or I'm doing 4 sets of 12 curls. And it's the same weight every single day. And that's why they're not making any progress. And let me break it to you. If that's what you're doing, you're not really training, you're just practicing, and you're getting really good at doing the same thing every day. And as long as you do the same thing every day, nothing is going to change. I talk about the habit floor, which is your non-negotiable minimum on your worst day, and your habit ceiling, which is the hardest you can work out on your best day. If your habit floor and your habit ceiling are exactly the same number, you're not growing. You have to raise your ceiling. When you put your muscles under tension, the real tension, the kind of tension that forces them to change, your body responds like an overprotective parent. It says, that was really hard. Let's make sure that never happens again. And it builds up your muscle tissue so that next time it's being faced with that challenge, it can answer that challenge. Scientists call this supercompensation. I call it the Milo principle. But here's the catch, and this is where most people get it wrong. If the amount of tension you put that muscle under is exactly the same as you did yesterday, there's no reason for that muscle to change. You've got to up the pressure on it. If you do the same 10 push-ups every day for a year, your body says, got it handled, no problem, let's just keep doing that. And there's no motivation, there's no biological pressure for it to do anything else. Stimulus has to increase. That's the entire philosophy behind progressive overload. Every day, the load got a little heavier for Milo, and his body was forced to adapt. Now here's where we get practical. Knowing the science is great, but what do you do on Monday morning when you have no equipment and you don't know where to start? That's what the rest of this video is about. So let's dig into it, and I'll show you exactly what to do. Okay, you ready for some real talk? This is kind of embarrassing. When I first got started in fitness, I did what a lot of people do. I went straight for the heavy bars, and I loaded up more weight than I could actually handle, and I hurt myself. Not real bad, didn't put me in a hospital, but it was enough to take me out of training for a while. And that's a mistake you don't want to make, because every time you do that, you delay your progress. And it hurts. It's no fun. The problem wasn't strength. I was strong enough to move those weights. The problem is your muscles grow faster than your connective tissue does because your tendons and your ligaments don't have sufficient blood flow to carry the appropriate nutrients and oxygen to them to repair and grow as fast as your muscles do. So you can grow strong and lift plenty of weight before your joints are able to handle that stress. That's how you get hurt. And that's why the Milo Method starts with body weight. Not because body weight is easy, but because body weight is smart. Build up the scaffolding before you put up the walls. So let's walk through the 3 phases. Phase 1 is where everybody starts, and it's where most people underestimate just how hard it can get. Phase 1 is your body weight foundation, and I want you to destroy the idea that this is a beginner phase that you can rush through. This will take weeks. It could take months. It's supposed to take a long time. You're building a foundation. Milo didn't just automatically skip right to the bowl. You have 3 levers to pull in phase 1. Master these 3 levers and you'll never plateau. Level 1 is intensity. Intensity is about how hard the exercise actually is, not how you feel after you've done it. And you control the intensity by changing the movement. Take the push-up. If you can't do a single push-up from the floor, start at the wall. Your hands are elevated, your body weight is reduced. That's the wall push-up, the first step of the push-up progression. From there, you move to the incline push-up on a bench or on a counter. Then you go to the knee push-up on the floor. Then and only then, when you've mastered those, you go to the full military push-up. If you get really good at that, you can go to the archer push-up, and then eventually to the one-arm push-up. But that's down the road. That's not 6 different exercises, really. That's one exercise. They're all push-ups. Progressed across the Milo spectrum. The calf keeps growing. Same thing with squats. We use something we could call the squat spectrum. You start with a wall-assisted squat. You can do this with your back against a flat surface or your hands for stability. You control the descent. From there, you move to the box squat, or you can squat on a chair or a bench, whatever you happen to have. You progress to the air squat, and eventually you can load yourself up with some weight, something we call a goblet squat. The next lever is volume. Once your form is perfect, and form always comes first, always, never compromise your form, you can increase your volume. So your 3 sets of 8 eventually become 3 sets of 12. 3 sets of 12 eventually become 4 sets of 12. As long as you bring those repetitions within about 2 or 3 reps of failure. And that just means that you can't do any more without compromising your form. 3 is density. And density refers to the amount of work you're doing in a given period of time. So for our purposes, we're talking about the rest intervals in between sets. So let's give you a benchmark. When you can do 3 sets of 15, with 45 seconds of rest in between sets with perfect form, and it's starting to feel a little bit too easy, you've officially milked that calf, and it's time to pick up some iron. Okay, hang on. Before we go any further, let's make sure we're on the same page about something, because what I just described is not easy. Air squats and wall push-ups sound simple, and at first, they are. But if you stack all 3 levers properly, bodyweight exercises can be brutally effective. So don't ever let anybody at the gym intimidate you into thinking that you're taking the easy way out. You're not. You're being smart. Phase 2 is the transition, and this is where most people mess it up. They walk into the gym and they look and see what everybody else is lifting, and they try to lift the same thing. They do too much, too fast, and they hurt themselves. That's not progressive overload. That's ego lifting, and it doesn't build muscle. It builds injuries. So here's the collective baseline for transitioning to weights. Step 1, start with just the bar, or the lightest dumbbell, whichever one you prefer. Step 2 is the 5-pound rule. Once your form is locked in, and you can do 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps and feel good about it, and you know your form is right, add 5 pounds to the bar. Not 25 pounds. I don't care what the person standing next to you is lifting. You're not them. Let that idiot get hurt. You're going to be smart about this. 5 pounds over 52 weeks is 260 pounds added to your lifts. That's no joke. That's some serious weight you're moving. And that counts. Step 3, track everything. Milo didn't guess. He knew that calf was getting heavier every day. Write down the weight that you're lifting, your rest times, your reps and sets, how you feel about it after you've done it. This matters. If you don't track it, you can't progress it. Phase 3 is the long game, and that's what we're doing here. This is where the Milo Method separates from every 30-day shred and every 90-day summer challenge that's ever let you down before. The long game has no end. You don't graduate from progressive overload. You keep showing up, and you keep progressing. Milo didn't retire after he picked up the calf. He kept going consistently day after day, and he kept progressing. And that's what you need to do too. Now here's the part about phase 3 that people don't like to say out loud because it doesn't sound very cool. Your progress is going to slow down. After about the first year or so, depending on the individual, you're not going to be able to add 5 pounds to that bar every week. Maybe you're adding 5 pounds a month. Maybe you're staying at the same weight for even longer, but you're just adding more sets, or you're adding more reps, or you're shortening your rest times. That's actually progress. We're always going to go back to the habit floor. And that's your bare minimum, non-negotiable, what you're going to do on your worst day. And that floor is slowly going to increase over time as your stress tolerance increases and your strength increases and your conditioning gets better. Your results might shock you after 6 months. You're going to see significant changes in your body that you might not have thought were possible. It's really kind of fun. It's not magic, it's biology, and biology doesn't lie. These are the facts, not fads. No sketchy diets, no weird circus tricks where you're balancing a dumbbell on your nose while you're standing on an inflatable ball on one foot. Just the basics, consistently applied over time. And let's remember one more thing, and this is non-negotiable. You need to support your work with appropriate nutrition. Particularly, you need sufficient protein because protein is your main building block that's going to build muscle. Lift progressively, eat sufficiently, rest and sleep consistently. That's it. That's the whole system. Remember, Milo of Croton did not become a legend because he was the greatest athlete in Greece. He did it because he showed up, and he did it with a simple, repeatable system that worked even when the gains were invisible. You have that system now. That's the Milo Method, and it works not because it's trendy, but because biology is the law. I'm Andrew, and this is Fit the Right Way. Now let's get to work, and I'll see you in the next video.